my pop, I said, hey, did you finish those chores that I needed you to do so I could take the truck? He said, no. I said, well, why not? He says, well, because I was watching your videos. That's how much my dad loves education, is that he's actually hooked on my videos now. He's watching all my videos. Sending me questions via email like, what does this mean again, Phil? You mentioned it in a video and I'm not quite sure what it means. He's wicked smart, so it's hilarious. Now, and I'm not boasting my dad because he's my dad, okay? I do want to tell you guys this right off the bat. My pop, when I say he's wicked smart, he's a 1%er. And if you don't know what that means, he was actually recruited in the 60s and 70s by NSA, okay? Because he could decode Vietnamese and Korean. When he got back out of the Army, he was recruited by the Washington State Patrol in the 70s. So you know the computers in their car that they look up your license and all your information on? He designed those in 1976. Think about it. He designed them. 1976. How many people were alive in 76? Yeah. Me. Okay? Wicked smart. Wicked smart. Okay? The entire mobile system, he was part of that. Washington State Patrol. Retired after 25 years of service with them. Okay? Super amazing. Loves the videos. Loves them. He's watching them all the time. I'm like, stop, you have chores. He's like, no. Love my dad. 2 phases cardiac cycle. 2 phases. Contraction and relaxation. Again, if the words are throwing you off, systole, diastole, please just change them. Put the contraction and relaxation behind them. It'll help you. Boom. Basically what this is doing, and it's circular, and I'm a little hesitant to say use the circular, and so tonight, well, I was supposed to do it last night, but tonight I will post one that's not circular. It's actually, it runs in a line, so you can see the same thing. So atrial systole, atrial contraction, begins. Notice the 2 atria are contracting. What percentage, and this is 0 milliseconds, what percentage of blood is being contracted from the atria to the ventricles at the start? 20%. 20% of blood. So where's the other 80% coming from, Quack? If only 20% is being contracted down, where's the other 80%? How are we getting 80% down? One more time? Well, 20% is by contraction. So how? Somebody? Gravity. Gravity. 80% of the blood through gravity alone is going down. So atrial systole ends, so contraction ends, and atrial diastole begins. So contraction ends, we're going into a relaxation state. Okay? And that's at about 100 milliseconds, and we drop down ventricular systole, first phase. So ventricular contraction, remember the words are throwing you off, just add the contraction in there. Ventricular contraction pushes the AV valves closed. Ooh, right? So Linda, if we're pushing the valves closed, what's helping the valves, what's stopping the valves from flipping open the other way? Fantastic. The chordae tendineae. So we contract, we push the AV valves closed, but does not create enough pressure to open the semilunar valve. So at one point, bless you, at one point we have enough pressure going up to close the AV valves, but not enough pressure to open the SLs. So it's a pressurized ventricle, but it's only enough to close the AV, but not enough to push the SLs open yet. Okay? And our chordae tendineae and papillary muscles are what's helped pulling down on those AV valves to prevent them from prolapsing. So what it's saying is it closes them, but does not create enough pressure to open the semilunar valves. Then it says ventricular systole, second phase. As the ventricular pressure rises and exceeds the pressure in the arteries. So once it exceeds the pressure in the arteries, pulmonary trunk and aorta, Once it exceeds that, guess what happens? The semilunar valves open and blood is ejected. So for one brief moment, all the valves are closed, and that brief moment is the first phase of ventricular systole. Let me say that one more time. In ventricular systole, the first phase of ventricular contraction, all the valves are closed. Second phase of ventricular contraction, SL valves are pushed open. Second phase of ventricular contraction, SL valves are pushed open. That means we've gone beyond the pressure that's found in the arteries and we're pushing the blood out now. Then it says ventricular diastole, early phase, okay? As ventricles relax, the pressure in the ventricles drops, blood flows back against the cusps of the semilunar valve. So that's what I was telling you guys. Contract up, and then when we start to relax, the blood comes down and pushes the valves closed. Okay? It says flows back against the cusp of the semilunar valves and forces them closed. Blood flows into the relaxed atria at this point. That means that the atria is starting to fill. The atria is starting to fill at this point. Then late ventricular diastole or relaxation, all chambers are relaxed and ventricles are filling passively. And what is our percentage passively? 80%. Okay? 80%. So we add our numbers there. If we go up here, this is your 20%. This is your 80%. Okay? Late ventricle or ventricular diastole, everything's filling at this point. Valves are open, we're all relaxed, everything's filling. 80% via gravity. Any questions? All right. Okay, so what is this doing for you? These are flashcards. You need to know these. You need to know them. The basis for this, or for your guys' test, is this right here. This is everything you've learned up to this point. The flow of blood through the heart, the contracting of the chambers of the heart. You have to know this. And so flashcard 1, flashcard 2, flashcard 3, flashcard 4, flashcard 5. Okay, and this is early ventricular relaxation. And here's late. All chambers are relaxed, ventricles are filling passively 80%. Again, any questions? Now, I'm going to post several images for you guys online. It would benefit you to actually pull those images up and print them out. All right? Literally flashcards. It's a cardiac cycle. I went on YouTube yesterday for a student in the other class. If you type in flow of blood through the heart, they actually have animation. Awesome animation where literally it tells you exactly where it's going as it goes through the heart. So now you've got flow of blood through the heart. You've got the actual cardiac cycle. And they're side by side, but you need to know them. And remember, this is how well you need to know them. What comes after P in the alphabet? P? T? Or TP? Toilet paper? Q. So what do we do? This is a perfect example because you know what? I do the same thing. What do we do when we start in the middle of the alphabet? L-M-N-O-P-Q. Okay. You never start at P and go, that's Q. No. You always do your song. Yeah. A, B, C, D, E. And if you can't start at L-M-N-O-P, then you start at the beginning. Give me a second. Q. Yeah. Okay, it's the same thing with this. It's very, very hard to start in the middle. But the questions on the test are going to do that. They're going to start in the middle. They're not going to start at the beginning. They're not going to say, starting at A, what comes after P. They're literally going to say, what comes after P. And you have to actually know it. Okay, so literally, I mean, find your pal, find your study pal. Get these things and grill the living daylights out of each other. Because it will start anywhere. It's not limited to the beginning. It's not going to say, you know what? Go ahead and just walk me through step by step the flow of blood through the heart. Because then she's going to go, oh, okay. Superior, inferior, vena cava. Click, 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 just like the alphabet. But it's not going to do that. It's going to say what comes after the mitral valve. And exactly. You're like, mitral valve. Right? I'm pretty sure left ventricle wasn't your first choice. I'm pretty sure pillow, nap was your first choice. Okay, so remember, this is actually going to do that. The test questions are going to start wherever they want. They're not going to start at the beginning. Blood pressure, well, in any chamber, rises during systole. Obviously, it's contracting, so we're building up pressure, and falls during diastole. Blood flows from high to low pressure, controlled by the timing of contractions, directed by one-wave valves. Okay, we know our valves, A, B, SL, A, B, SL, and we're just going to keep doing that. Now, cardiac cycle and heart rate at 75 beats per minute. Cardiac cycle lasts about 800 milliseconds. Now, did I do the whole time thing with you guys yesterday? The time thing? Some of you are shaking your head, some of you aren't. Okay, let's just relive it again. If your heart beats 60 beats per minute, how long does one beat have? 1 second. 1 second. But your heart does not beat 60 beats per minute, it beats 75. So you have less than 1 second per beat. Let the reality of that sink in. Your heart has less than 1 second to go through this entire cycle. Now that is like, wow. That's wowzers. That's way the heck out there. Less than 1 second. And so there's our number, 800 milliseconds. Okay? When the heart rate increases, all phases of cardiac cycle shorten, particularly diastole. Wow, so if diastole shortens, and this is relaxation, do you have enough time to fill? Everybody should do this. No. So, what if your heart, 75 beats per minute, less than 1 second, what if your heart's beating 130 beats per minute? Just to make the math easy, let's go with 140. Okay, that's half the time. Half the time to beat and fill, not beat, fill, but pump and fill. Yeah, no, don't beat me up. Okay, leave me alone. But the idea is that it has half that time now. It has half that time to fill, which means we really depend on respiratory pump and the squeezing of skeletal muscle to return the blood. We depend on that. Of course, if your heart's at 140 beats per minute, I would hope that you're exercising, right? That you're running or you're walking or you're doing something like that. So now can you tell why it's so deadly? Because when you're running or hiking or doing anything like that, do you have increased respiratory rate? Yes. Do you have increased contracting of skeletal muscle? Yes. That means the return is faster. But if you're just sitting there, not breathing heavy and not contracting your muscles, and your heart's at 140, are you getting the return you need? No, not at all. Okay? Now that's why a resting heart rate of 140 or higher is extremely bad, because you're not getting the return you need. So phase is the cardiac cycle, which we just saw, so please make sure on this slide, in your guys' slide, you change the words. Atrial contraction, atrial relaxation, ventricular contraction, ventricular relaxation, and then behind it, this is a perfect one. Okay, Susan, Maria, this is good for you guys when you're waiting for another class or in trio or anything like that. Take this slide and print it up and then hand it to each other and say, okay, tell me what happens in the heart behind this. Not tell me that this is contraction, tell me what's happening. That is a good way to study for this. So, if I say atrial systole, Susan, you would say contraction, but what's happening? 20% of the blood is being contracted from the atria to the ventricles. Then we go to the next one, atrial diastole. Okay, at this point, the atria have relaxed, okay, but the ventricles are going to start to build up pressure, which will close the AV valves. Ventricular systole, there's two phases to this. Phase 1, pushing against the valves, all of the valves are closed. Phase 2, AV valves are closed, SL valves are open. So you see how this is a great tool for what's happening in the heart? You should at bare minimum be able to say phase 1, phase 2, late and early phase on these. And then define them. Any questions? So here we go. This is walking you through word step by step by step. So that image you guys had, that was this right here. You need to know this. Atrial systole, ventricular systole, ventricular systole, and then boom. This is actually telling you right here in all the little steps what we just saw. Coming over, left atrium, left AV valves are closed, left ventricle, notice ventricular systole, gigantic amount of pressure up here. Now, the image that I'm going to give you guys, it has this on it, but it's spelled out a lot better. It actually has heart sounds. It has the opening and closing of the valves. It has the pressure. It has everything on it, all charted out perfectly for you. Okay? Ventricular diastole. Okay, this is when we're falling. Now they're talking about ventricles relaxed, isovolumetric relaxation. Notice it's in bold. That means it's important. Let's back up. Did we have any bold? End systolic volume. End systolic volume. So at the end of the contraction, what is the volume? Okay, at the end of the contraction, what is the volume of blood? End systolic volume. About 40% of end diastolic volume. Okay, isovolumetric contraction, stroke volume. The amount of blood ejected is called stroke volume. Now, why do you think they would want to know the amount of blood that's ejected? You can tell something's really bad. Because didn't I just say that at resting at 140, you don't get the amount of return that you need? If you don't get the amount of return you need, are you going to have a high or low stroke volume? If you don't get the amount of return you need, if you don't have enough blood coming back to the heart, what's your stroke volume going to be? Super low. Because there's nothing there. If there's nothing there, kaput. Kaput. Okay? So, this chart, again, I'm going to put one that's much better than this. You guys will utilize it. It has perfect lines that are lined up for what you need to know. Okay? Isovolumetric relaxation. Atrial pressure is higher than ventricular pressure. All valves are open. Passive atrial filling, passive ventricular filling. Which if we were to go back to that circular chart, it would be ventricular diastole late phase, which is 80% filling. Now, we're not going to finish this chapter today, and that's on the weekly schedule for us to work on it on Monday, okay? Because we're probably about 40 slides off. 40 slides off. We're not even close to being done. And right now, your guys' brains are fried. Because I'm just looking at you, and when I say isovolumetric relaxation or pressure, you're just like, okay? So this adds everything to the image. Again, the image that I'm going to give you guys is actually much better than this. I need you guys to actually take that image, print it up. It is in sections, so when it comes down, it will come over here and talk about what phase we're in. I'm going to post it today. Yeah, when I go to Trio, I'll post it. Yeah. So it'll give you the different phases you're in. It'll give you heart sounds, beats, pressures, everything you need. Okay? In fact, it'll even give you where you're at on the PQRST complex. Now, the question on you guys' quiz today was pretty straightforward. Keyword, right? Repolarization. And we know that the only visible repolarization is the ventricular, and it is the what wave? T. Heart sounds. Okay? Loud sounds produced by the AV valves. Second sound, loud sounds produced by the semilunar valves. So what produces the sounds in the heart? Opening and closing of valves. Lub, dub. Lub, dub. Lub, dub. Lub, dub. Unless you're in lub, and then you're dub, 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 dub. Right? Because you've got that special someone, eat spaghetti together. Yeah. Okay, we're going to stop right here.
I'm going to read at that time. Or you're going to be
I'm sorry?
You're going to be Trio.
Yeah, I'm going to Trio right